Hi everyone, this is a short response to Georges Bataille's Story of the Eye. Published in 1928 under the pseudonym of Lord Auch, for fear of legal prosecution, Georges Bataille's Story of the Eye is his first novel and most renowned work. Often reduced to mere debauched pornography, the tale of the young male narrator and his lovers Simone and Marcel is an amalgamation between Bataille's traumatic lived experience and erotic fiction that culminate in an explicit act of transgression, and clearly establishes the connection between violence, sexuality, and religious experience. For Bataille, violence not only dominates us through its sovereign imposition, but can also offer a dissolution of limits, and ultimately provide a violent freedom. In his early novella, transgression is the violent breaking of taboo, often a sexual taboo, and leads to anguish. Bataille was fascinated by the possibility that we might experience death through the other, for example, in the spectacle of sacrifice. Sacrifice simultaneously exposes us to death, but also saves us from death. In Story of the Eye, the connection between violence, sexuality, and religious experience is made explicit in the most literal sense of the word by displaying bodies in a stage of violent jouissance, primarily seen in the character of Simone. For Bataille, the experience of transgression is an experience of jouissance taken to the limit, a pleasure that is so excessive as to bring the person to the point of death. This is most evident in the penultimate scene in the novel, for jouissance is attained not only through death, as seen in the murder/climax of the priest, but also through Simone's and Sir Edmund's almost juvenile mockery and defilement of the Catholic Eucharist. Extreme pleasure is attained at the expense of literal death, and death of the sacrilegious. In this way, Bataille's tale seeks to rescue the pleasure derived from death and violence that the cult of death of Catholicism has denied through the religious and salvatory imposition of meaning onto death. For Bataille, Catholicism denies the connection between sexuality and violence by separating sexuality and death from one another and appointing death a stable meaning of ascendance into the celestial, outside of the material. Later appropriating on Bataille's concept of jouissance, Jacques Lacan terms the loss of plenitude of one's material bodily drives given up by the subject in order to enter the symbolic order, or the real. For Lacan, self-shattering jouissance is necessary to access the impossibility of the real. However, to enframe Bataille within an established philosophical or theoretical framework is to misread and misinterpret his thought. It is for this reason that he became disassociated from the surrealist movement to which he once belonged to, for their ideas on the power of imagery widely diverged. As a base materialist, Bataille sought to subvert the image by grounding it within matter, within the bodily, while the surrealists implemented an exploration of pseudo-automatism of the unconscious to elevate the image above matter, onto a quote-unquote higher reality. For Bataille, the image is one of the most powerful ways in which a communication with the impossible is possible. In the case of the Story of the Eye, the image of the eye/egg/bull's testicle is implemented not only to collapse these images onto one another, but to subvert vision itself. For Bataille, the contradiction of the eye as an organ of vision that simultaneously provides the illusion of clarity, while depending on the blind spot of the dilatory opening, makes vision possible, but also disrupts vision, making it impossible. This impossibility is central to Bataille's thought, and through the recognition of the fragility of the eye as something that is incomplete and thus inherently violent due to its incompleteness, that Bataille, psychoanalysis, and the surrealist movement simultaneously converge and diverge. As inherently violent, incompleteness and impossibility in the Story of the Eye are thus entwined within the erotic, sexuality, and religious experience. Thank you.